What happens when a king carves law into stone and makes every subject live under its shadow? In Babylon, Hammurabi turned royal command into public memory, creating a monument that made justice feel ancient, sacred, and impossible to ignore. Before the law code became famous, Babylon was a city of walls, markets, debts, fields, temples, and dangerous arguments. Hammurabi ruled a world where one broken contract could ruin a family, and one false accusation could destroy a life. Hammurabi did not inherit a world empire. He began with a powerful but vulnerable kingdom, surrounded by rival cities and ambitious kings. To survive, Babylon needed more than soldiers. It needed order that could outlast fear. Mesopotamia already knew writing, accounting, and older law traditions. Hammurabi's achievement was not inventing law from nothing. His achievement was gathering royal judgment into a dramatic form that could speak across centuries. The code rose from a civilization built on mudbrick, irrigation, and hierarchy. Water had to be managed, labor had to be organized, and property had to be defended. Law became the invisible architecture holding the city together. At the top of the stele, Hammurabi stands before Shamash, the sun god and judge. The image makes a bold claim. These laws were not merely the king's opinion. They were presented as justice under divine light. For ordinary people, law was not abstract philosophy. It touched fields, houses, boats, animals, marriages, wages, loans, and injuries. The code shows a society trying to control the everyday risks that could tear a community apart. The text is carved in dense cuneiform, line after line, as if the stone itself had become a witness. A decision spoken in a palace could fade. A decision cut into basalt could stare back forever. Babylonian power was designed to be seen. Gates, processions, temples, and monuments turned politics into spectacle. Hammurabi's law code worked the same way. It made authority visible, impressive, and difficult to challenge. The code moves through cases with a relentless rhythm. If this happens, then this must follow. That structure changed the feel of justice. It made punishment and compensation look like consequences, not sudden royal moods. Some laws protected the stability of courts themselves. False accusations, false testimony, and corrupted judgments were treated as threats to the entire kingdom. Hammurabi understood that justice collapses when the courtroom becomes another battlefield. The famous phrase, often remembered as an eye for an eye, was only part of a wider system. The code tried to match injuries, losses, and obligations with penalties that felt measured, terrifying, and official. Trade needed trust. Merchants moved goods, agents handled silver, and families borrowed to survive hard seasons. The code reveals an economy where promises mattered, because every promise could become a dispute. Agriculture was just as fragile. If a farmer neglected a canal and flooded another field, the damage was not treated as bad luck. It became a legal responsibility, because water was life and mismanagement could spread disaster. Hammurabi wanted to appear as the shepherd of the weak, protecting widows, orphans, and those without powerful defenders. That image was political, but it mattered. A king who claimed justice had to be remembered by that promise. Yet, this was not equality in the modern sense. Status shaped outcomes. Elites, commoners, and enslaved people did not stand in the same position before the law. The code preserved order, but also preserved hierarchy. That tension makes the monument powerful. It is both a breakthrough and a warning. Written law can limit chaos, but it can also freeze inequality into something that looks permanent, sacred, and unquestionable. The code also tells us how rulers wanted to be feared. Hammurabi's justice was not gentle. It was meant to make people pause before cheating, lying, stealing, or abusing another person's property. The prologue and epilogue frame Hammurabi as a king chosen to establish justice in the land. The laws were practical, but the message was larger. Babylon was presenting itself as a civilization ruled by order. Centuries later, the stele was no longer in Babylon. It was found at Susa, far from the city that created it. Even conquest could not erase the force of the writing. The stone survived its own kingdom. The code did not stop with one monument. Copies and echoes of Hammurabi's laws entered scribal culture, where students, scholars, and officials encountered the language of judgment long after Hammurabi was gone. That is why the code matters beyond ancient Babylon. It shows the moment when government tried to make justice public, organized, and memorable. Law became something people could point to, quote, copy, and debate. Modern legal systems are not descendants of Hammurabi in a simple straight line, but the idea behind the stele still feels familiar. Power gains authority when it claims to follow rules, not just personal desire. The monument changed civilization because it turned law into a public performance of power. It taught later worlds that justice could be written, displayed, preserved, and used to define what a society believed about order. So the real question is not whether Hammurabi was fair by modern standards. The question is more unsettling. Once a ruler writes justice in stone, who gets protected by the law and who gets trapped beneath it?